When my son called me that Saturday evening asking if I enjoyed the chocolates he sent, I smiled, because what mother wouldn't? It was such a thoughtful gesture, so I told him the truth, that I'd given them to his wife earlier that morning. I thought he'd be pleased. Instead, he went silent. Not the comfortable kind of silence, the kind that makes your chest tighten, the kind that tells you something is desperately wrong. Then he spoke, and his voice cracked in a way I'd never heard before. "Mama? You gave him to Nadina?" "Yes, baby," I said, confused now. "She stopped by this morning. I thought it was sweet to share them with her." "Why? What's—" "Mama, listen to me." His breathing was fast, shallow. "Do not let her open that box. Do you hear me? Don't let her— Marilyn, please, don't let her open it." My stomach dropped. He never calls me Marilyn. Not unless something's serious. Not unless he's scared. "Terrence, what are you talking about? I already gave it to her hours ago. What's in that box?" The line went dead. My hands started shaking. I stood there in my kitchen in Maryland, staring at my phone, trying to make sense of what just happened. A box of chocolates. Expensive ones. Beautiful packaging. From my son to me. Except they weren't really for me, were they? I grabbed my coat and my keys. My mind was racing. What could possibly be inside a box of chocolates that would make a grown man panic like that? Drugs? Money? Something stolen? I didn't know yet. But I was about to find out. And what I discovered, hidden beneath those chocolates, would rip my family apart in ways I never imagined. It would expose secrets I had been too blind to see. It would force me to confront the son I raised and the lies I had been telling myself for years. Because that box wasn't a gift. It was evidence. And the moment Nadina opened it, everything my son had been hiding came crashing down. My name is Marilyn Booker. I'm 62 years old. I've buried a husband, raised 2 children, and survived more heartbreak than I care to count. But nothing prepared me for the day a simple box of chocolates destroyed everything I thought I knew about my own son.
Let me back up for a moment, because you need to understand who I am before you can understand why this hurt so deeply. I grew up believing that family meant honesty, that blood came with loyalty, that your children, no matter how old they got, would never look you in the eye and lie to you the way strangers do. I was wrong about that, but I didn't know it yet. I've lived in Maryland my whole life, raised 2 kids in a 3-bedroom house with a cracked driveway and a front porch that creaks when you step on it. My husband, God rest him, died when I was 48. Heart attack. No warning. One day he was here, and the next day I was a widow trying to figure out how to raise a teenage son on my own. Terrence was always the one who needed more attention, more reassurance, more excuses made on his behalf. He was charming in that way that makes people forgive him too easily. Handsome smile, quick laugh, the kind of man who could talk his way out of trouble before you even realized he'd caused it. My daughter, Janelle, was different. 6 years older than Terrence, and about 100 years wiser. She saw through people. She didn't sugarcoat things, and she had been telling me for years that I was too soft on him. I didn't want to hear it, because mothers don't like to believe their sons are capable of cruelty. We tell ourselves they're just misunderstood, just overwhelmed, just going through something. We make excuses until the excuses become lies we believe ourselves. Terrence married young. Too young, probably. A sweet girl from New Jersey named Nadina. Soft-spoken, kind eyes. The type of woman who believed love could fix anything if you just tried hard enough. They moved to Virginia a few years back, bought a house, tried to build something stable. But Terrence was never good at stable. He traveled for work, came home tired, pulled away when Nadina reached for him. And I defended him. Every time she called me, voice trembling, asking if I thought he still loved her, I told her yes. I told her he was just stressed. I told her marriage takes patience. I should have told her the truth, but I didn't know the truth yet. Not until that phone call. Not until I heard the fear in his voice and realized my son wasn't calling to thank me. He was calling to stop me from ruining everything he'd been hiding.
You need to understand the cracks that were already there, because betrayal doesn't just happen overnight. It builds slowly, in the spaces between words, in the silences that nobody questions. Terrence was 17 when his father died. That's a hard age to lose a parent. Old enough to understand death, young enough to be shattered by it. He cried at the funeral, but after that, he stopped talking about it. Just locked it away somewhere deep and pretended he was fine. Janelle handled it differently. She grieved openly, asked questions, got angry when she needed to. She moved through it. Terrence just buried it. And I think, looking back now, that's when he started learning how to hide things. He met Nadina when he was 23. She was 21, working at a coffee shop near his office in Richmond. He told me she reminded him of springtime, whatever that meant. I thought it was sweet. They got married within a year. Janelle didn't come to the wedding. She told me privately that she didn't trust him, that he wasn't ready, that Nadina deserved better. I told her she was being cruel. But Janelle wasn't cruel. She was just honest. And honesty, I've learned, often sounds harsh when you're not ready to hear it. Nadina tried so hard. She called me every few weeks asking for advice. How do I get him to talk to me? How do I make him feel safe enough to open up? How do I stop feeling like I'm failing? I told her what I believed at the time, that Terrence loved her, that men just process things differently, that he needed space, not pressure. I was wrong. He didn't need space. He needed accountability. And I didn't give him that because I was too busy protecting him from consequences he should have faced years ago. Nadina would tell me little things, how he'd come home late and say he was working, how his phone was always face down on the table, how he'd get defensive when she asked simple questions. Red flags, clear ones, but I smoothed them over. I told her every marriage goes through rough patches. I told her my husband used to do the same things. Except my husband wasn't hiding anything. Terrence was. And the worst part? I think I knew something was wrong. Deep down in that place mothers don't like to look, I knew my son wasn't the man I wanted him to be. But admitting that felt like admitting I'd failed him. Or worse, that I'd failed to see him clearly. So I kept defending him, kept making excuses, kept telling Nadina to be patient, right up until the day those chocolates arrived, right up until the moment I handed them to her, thinking I was doing something kind, right up until Terrence called me, voice shaking with panic, and I realized I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. Because I didn't just give Nadina a box of chocolates. I gave her the truth. And the truth was something Terrence had been desperately trying to keep buried.
It was one of those early fall Saturdays where the air smells like change. You know the kind, where summer is still clinging on, but you can feel winter waiting just behind it. The kind of morning that makes you want to sit on your porch with coffee and pretend the world is simpler than it is. I was sweeping leaves off my front steps when the delivery truck pulled up. The driver was young, maybe mid-20s, wearing a uniform that looked 2 sizes too big. He checked his tablet, looked at me, then smiled. "Package for Marilyn Booker?" "That's me," I said, wiping my hands on my jeans. He handed me a medium-sized box. Brown cardboard, neat handwriting on the label. No return address, but I recognized the penmanship immediately. Terrence. My chest warmed. It wasn't often my son sent me things. He wasn't the sentimental type. Birthdays, maybe, holidays if I reminded him, but random gifts, that was new. I brought the box inside and set it on my kitchen table. The tape was clean, careful. I opened it slowly, the way you do when you want to savor something. Inside was a smaller box, glossy white with gold lettering, a boutique chocolate brand I'd seen in fancy stores but never bought for myself, the kind of chocolates that cost more than groceries. I lifted the lid just enough to peek inside. Rows of perfectly shaped truffles, each one sitting in its own little paper cup, dark chocolate, caramel, something with a swirl of white on top. I smiled. My boy remembered I liked chocolate. I sat there for a moment, just holding the box, feeling that warmth mothers feel when their children surprise them. It didn't matter that Terrence and I hadn't talked much lately. It didn't matter that our last conversation had been tense. This was him reaching out, saying he loved me, saying he was thinking of me. At least, that's what I thought. I set the box back down and reached for my phone to text him a thank you. But before I could type anything, a message came through. From Nadina. Mama Marilyn, I made way too much breakfast this morning. Can I bring some by? I miss you. I read it twice. That girl had the kindest heart. She was always thinking of others, always trying to make people feel cared for. And I knew things had been hard for her lately. Terrence was traveling again, or so he said. She'd been lonely. I could hear it in her voice every time we talked. And then I looked at the chocolates sitting on my table. I thought, why not? Why not give her something sweet? Something to remind her she's loved. Something to brighten her day the way Terrence had just brightened mine. So I wrapped the chocolates in a small gift bag I kept in my closet, tied a ribbon around it, wrote a little note on a scrap of paper. For my sweet daughter-in-law, you deserve something special. I set it by the door and texted her back. Come on over, baby. I've got something for you, too. I thought I was being kind. I thought I was doing something good. I had no idea I just handed her a bomb with a timer I couldn't see.
Nadina arrived about 20 minutes later. I heard her car pull into the driveway, that soft hum of her little sedan, and I opened the door before she even knocked. She stood there in an oversized sweater, hair pulled back in a loose ponytail, holding a container of scrambled eggs and toast. Her smile was small, tired, but genuine. Mama Marilyn, she said, stepping inside. I hope this is okay. I just needed to see you. I hugged her, tight. The kind of hug you give someone when you can feel they're carrying more weight than they're letting on. You're always welcome here, baby, I said. Always. We sat at the kitchen table, and she unpacked the food. We talked about small things. Her garden, the weather, a new recipe she wanted to try. But I could see it in her eyes. The loneliness. The exhaustion of trying to hold a marriage together when the other person keeps letting go. How's Terrence? I asked gently. She hesitated, pushing eggs around her plate with a fork. He's fine. Busy. You know how he gets. I nodded, even though I didn't fully know, not anymore. Well, I said, standing up and grabbing the gift bag from the counter, I want you to have this. Her eyes widened a little as I handed it to her. Mama, you didn't have to... I know, I said, but I wanted to. You've been so good to me, so good to my son, and I know things haven't been easy. So take these. Treat yourself. You deserve it. She opened the bag carefully, like she was afraid to break something. When she saw the chocolates, her whole face softened. Oh, Mama Marilyn, these are beautiful. They're yours. Enjoy them." She stood up and hugged me again, tighter this time. "Thank you," she whispered. "I've been feeling so—" She trailed off, then shook her head. "Thank you." I walked her to the door a little while later. She held the chocolates against her chest like they were something precious, like I'd given her more than just candy. And I felt good. I felt like I'd done something right, like I'd reminded her that she mattered. She drove away, waving through the window, and I stood on my porch, watching until her car disappeared around the corner. I went back inside, cleaned up the breakfast dishes, and thought about calling Terrence to thank him for the gift. But I didn't. I decided to wait. Let him call me. Let him hear the surprise in my voice when I told him how thoughtful he was. I didn't know. I just set something irreversible into motion. I didn't know that box was never supposed to leave my house. And I didn't know that in a few short hours, my phone would ring and my son's voice would be filled with a terror I'd never heard before.
Before I tell you what happened next, before I explain the panic, the fear, and the terrible truth that was about to destroy my family, I need you to do something for me. I need you to stay. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't just my story. It's a warning. It's proof that the people we trust most can hide things we'd never imagine. And if you've ever ignored a gut feeling, ever made excuses for someone you love, ever convinced yourself that everything was fine when deep down you knew it wasn't, you need to hear this. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Let me know you're here. Because stories like this don't just happen to other people. They happen to mothers, wives, daughters. They happened in quiet neighborhoods and normal families. And the only way we protect each other is by paying attention. So stay with me. Because the moment Terrence called me back, everything I thought I knew shattered. And what was hidden inside that box of chocolates changed all of our lives forever. The phone rang just after 7 that evening. I was folding laundry in the living room, half watching a cooking show I wasn't really paying attention to. When I saw Terrence's name on the screen, I smiled. Perfect timing. I could thank him for the chocolates. "Hey, baby," I answered, tucking the phone between my ear and shoulder as I folded a towel. "Mama!" His voice was bright. Too bright. The kind of cheerful that sounds rehearsed. "Did you get the package I sent?" "I did," I said warmly. "That was so sweet of you, Terrence. I wasn't expecting—" "Did you like them? The chocolates?" "I didn't try them yet, but they looked beautiful. Actually, wait, you didn't eat any?" I paused. Something in his tone shifted. Not quite panic yet, but close, like he was trying to sound casual and failing. "No, honey, I didn't. Nadina stopped by this morning, and I gave them to her. I thought it would be nice." Silence. Not the comfortable kind. The kind that makes your skin prickle. "Terrence? You gave them to Nadina." His voice was flat now, hollow. "Yes," I said slowly, setting the towel down. "She's been feeling lonely lately, and I thought—" "Mama, listen to me." His breath hitched, fast, shallow, like he'd just run up a flight of stairs. "Listen very carefully. You need to call her right now, and tell her not to open that box." My stomach tightened. "What are you talking about?" "Marilyn, please, he never called me by my first name. Never. Do not let her open it. Do you understand me? Don't let her—" "Terrence, you're scaring me. What's in the box?" Just stop her. Please, I'm begging you." "I already gave it to her hours ago." My voice rose, sharp with confusion and fear. "She left with it this morning. What is going on?" I heard him curse under his breath. Something crashed in the background, like he'd knocked something over. "No, no, no," his voice cracked. "Mama, where is she? Is she home? Did she say where she was going?" "I don't know. Terrence, talk to me. What is in the box?"
But he didn't answer. The line went dead. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. What could possibly be inside a box of chocolates that would make my son sound like that? My hands were shaking as I tried calling Nadina. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. I texted her, "Baby, call me when you get this. It's important." Nothing. I sat down on the couch trying to steady my breathing, trying to make sense of what just happened. Terrence wasn't the type to panic. He was cool under pressure, smooth, always had an answer for everything. But that phone call, that wasn't control. That was fear. Raw, desperate fear. And the worst part, I knew, deep in that place mothers know things, I knew I'd just done something I couldn't undo. I grabbed my keys. I didn't know what I was walking into, but I knew I had to find Nadina before it was too late.
The drive from my house in Maryland to Terrence and Nadina's place in Virginia normally takes about 45 minutes. I made it in 30. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. I kept replaying the phone call in my head, the panic in Terrence's voice, the way he begged me to stop her from opening the box. What was I missing? I tried calling Nadina 3 more times during the drive. Every single call went to voicemail. Every text I sent sat there with no response. By the time I pulled onto their street, the sun was starting to set, painting everything in that eerie orange glow that makes ordinary things look wrong. Their house sat at the end of a quiet block, a small 2-story with blue shutters and a front porch Nadina had decorated with potted plants. The garage door was open. That was the first sign something was off. Nadina never left the garage door open. She was particular about things like that. Always locked doors, always turned off lights, always put things back where they belonged. I parked in the driveway and got out. My legs felt unsteady, like the ground wasn't quite solid beneath me. "Nadina?" I called out, walking toward the open garage. No answer. Her car was gone. I stepped inside the garage, looking around. Tools hung neatly on the wall, boxes stacked in the corner, everything in its place. Except Nadina. I walked up to the front door and knocked. Waited. Knocked again. Nothing. I tried the handle, locked. My chest tightened. I pulled out my phone and called Terrence. He answered on the first ring. "Did you find her?" His voice was frantic. "She's not here. Her car's gone. Terrence, where is she?" "I don't know. She's not answering my calls either. Mama, did she take the box with her?" "I don't know what is in that box." He didn't answer. I heard him breathing hard on the other end, like he was pacing. "Terrence, you need to tell me what is going on right now. I can't explain over the phone. Just find her, please, before she opens it." "Before she opens what?" I was yelling now, standing in their driveway, voice echoing off the houses around me. But he'd already hung up. I stood there, alone, staring at their empty house, feeling something cold settle in my chest. A neighbor walked by with a dog, an older woman I'd met once or twice at family gatherings. She slowed when she saw me. "Good evening, Mrs. Booker," she said carefully. "You all right?" "Have you seen Nadina?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She nodded. "Saw her leave a few hours ago. She was carrying a small box, looked upset, got in her car and just took off." "Did she say where she was going?" "No, ma'am.
but she looked like she'd been crying. My heart sank. I thanked her and walked back to my car, hands trembling as I unlocked the door. Navina was gone. The chocolates were with her, and whatever Terrence had been hiding was about to come out in the worst possible way. I didn't know where she was, but I knew, wherever she'd gone, she'd taken the truth with her. And my son was terrified of what would happen when she found it.
I sat in my car outside their house for 20 minutes, trying to think clearly. Nadina wasn't answering, Terrence was losing his mind, and I was stuck in the middle of something I didn't understand. That's when my daughter called. "Mama, what's going on?" Janelle's voice was sharp, worried. Terrence just called me in a panic, talking about chocolates and Nadina. He sounded like he was having a breakdown. I pressed my fingers against my temples, trying to hold myself together. "I don't know, baby. I gave Nadina a box of chocolates that Terrence sent me, and now he's acting like it's the end of the world." "What do you mean he sent you chocolates?" "He mailed them to me. I thought it was a gift. I gave them to Nadina this morning because she's been struggling, and now Terrence is—" "Mama?" Janelle's voice dropped, cold, knowing. Terrence doesn't send gifts. Not unless he wants something, or unless he's hiding something. My throat tightened. She was right. "I need to find Nadina," I said quietly. "Let me make some calls. I'll try her friends. You stay there in case she comes back." But she didn't come back that night. It wasn't until the next morning that I got the call I'd been dreading. Nadina's voice was quiet, broken, the kind of broken that doesn't heal quickly. "Mama Marilyn," she said softly, "I need you to know something." "Baby, where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm with my cousin in New Hampshire. I'm fine, but I need to tell you what was in that box." My heart stopped. "The chocolates?" I whispered. "They weren't just chocolates." Her voice cracked. "There was something underneath them, hidden in the bottom of the box." I closed my eyes. "What was it?" She took a shaky breath. "A letter, handwritten from Terrence, and a hotel room key, and a photograph." The air left my lungs. "A photograph of what?" She said quietly. "Of Terrence, with another woman, her arms around him, both of them smiling, and on the back of the photo someone wrote a date, 3 months ago." I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't move. "The letter," Nadina continued, voice barely above a whisper, "was a goodbye letter. Not to me, to her, to the other woman. It said he was done hiding, that he was ready to start fresh, that he'd meet her at the hotel next week to figure things out." My hands started shaking. "Nadina, he wasn't sending you chocolates, Mama Marilyn. He was using your address so I wouldn't see the package. He was going to pick it up from you later, probably make up some excuse to stop by, take the box, and I'd never know." Tears burned my eyes. "But I gave it to you. You gave me the truth he's been hiding for God knows how long." I thought about every phone call, every excuse I'd made for him, every time Nadina asked me if I thought he still loved her, and I said yes. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "It's not your fault." But I could hear the pain beneath her words, the betrayal, the exhaustion of loving someone who didn't love you back the way you deserved. "What are you going to do?" I asked. She was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know yet," she said, "but I'm not going back. Not right now.
Maybe not ever. Does Terrence know where you are? No, and I'm not telling him. I need time to think, time to breathe, time to figure out who I am without him. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. You call me if you need anything at all. You hear me? I will. And Mama Marilyn, thank you. Thank you for giving me that box, even if you didn't mean to. The call ended, and I sat there in my car, staring at their empty house, realizing that my son, my baby boy, had been living a lie so complete that even I hadn't seen it.
Over the next few days, the full picture started coming together, and every piece that fell into place made me feel sicker. Janelle did what Janelle does best. She dug. She called people, asked questions, refused to let Terrence hide behind vague explanations. And what she found was worse than I'd imagined. The woman in the photograph wasn't a mistake. She wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. She was someone Terrence had been seeing for over a year. Her name was Monica. She lived in Colorado. They'd met during one of his work trips, and what started as a conversation in a hotel bar turned into something he never ended. He'd fly out to see her every few months, tell Nadina he was at conferences, business meetings, client dinners. He'd call Monica from his car, text her late at night when Nadina was asleep, send her gifts, make plans for a future that didn't include his wife. And the letter hidden in the chocolate box? That was his exit strategy. He was going to break things off with Monica, not because he loved Nadina, but because he was tired of juggling two lives. He wanted to start over completely, somewhere new, with someone new. He was planning to divorce Nadina quietly, make it look mutual, move across the country and pretend the last few years never happened. But he needed time to set things up first. Needed to make sure Monica didn't cause problems, needed to tie up loose ends. That box was supposed to be his clean break, his way of ending things with Monica before ending things with Nadina. Except I ruined his plan. I handed the evidence directly to the one person who wasn't supposed to see it. When Janelle told me all this, I felt like I was going to be sick. "How long have you known?" I asked her quietly. "I didn't know for sure," she admitted, "but I suspected something was off. The way he talked about Nadina, the way he always had excuses, the way he got defensive when I asked too many questions. Why didn't you tell me?" She looked at me, and her expression was careful, gentle, but honest. "Because you didn't want to hear it, Mama. Every time I said something, you defended him. You told me I was being too hard on him, that he was going through a phase, that I didn't understand men the way you did." I swallowed hard. She was right. I had defended him, over and over, even when the signs were right in front of me. "I thought I was being a good mother," I whispered. "You were being a loyal mother," Janelle said softly. "But loyalty and honesty aren't always the same thing." That hit me harder than anything else. Because she was right. I had chosen loyalty over truth. I had chosen comfort over confrontation. I had let my son slide by on charm and excuses because it was easier than admitting he was capable of real harm. And Nadina had paid the price. "What do we do now?" I asked. "We let Nadina decide. This is her life, her marriage, her choice. We support her, whatever she decides." I nodded, even though part of me wanted to fix it, wanted to sit Terrence down and force him to explain, wanted to shake him until he understood the damage he had caused. But I couldn't fix this. This wasn't a scraped knee or a bad grade or a fight with a friend. This was betrayal. Calculated, deliberate betrayal. And the only person who could decide what came next was the woman my son had spent a year lying to.
The woman I had unknowingly handed the truth to in a gift bag with a ribbon on top. The woman who was now halfway across the country trying to figure out how to rebuild a life that had just collapsed.
Nadina stayed in New Hampshire for 2 weeks. Terrence called me every day, sometimes twice a day, begging me to talk to her, begging me to convince her to come home, to give him a chance to explain. "I made a mistake, Mama," he'd say, voice raw. "I messed up, but I love her. I swear I love her." And every time, I'd ask him the same question. "Do you love her, or are you just scared of losing control?" He never had a good answer. Because the truth was, Terrence wasn't grieving the loss of Nadina. He was grieving the loss of his plan, the loss of his image, the loss of the carefully constructed life he thought he could manage on his own terms. He didn't want Nadina back because she couldn't live without her. He wanted her back because her absence made him look bad. Nadina and I talked a few times during those 2 weeks. Quiet conversations. Painful ones. "I keep replaying everything in my head," she told me one night. "Trying to figure out when it started. Trying to figure out what I missed." "It's not your fault," I said firmly. "None of this is your fault. But I should have known, shouldn't I? I should have seen the signs. Baby, people who want to hide things will find a way. You trusted him because that's what you're supposed to do in a marriage. He's the one who broke that trust, not you." She was quiet for a long time. "Do you think he ever really loved me?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to tell her that of course he did, that people make mistakes, that love is complicated. But I couldn't lie to her anymore. "I think he loved the idea of you. I think he loved having someone who believed in him. But real love doesn't hide. Real love doesn't plan exit strategies. Real love doesn't treat people like they're disposable." I heard her breath hitch. "I don't know how to let go of him," she admitted. "You don't have to let go all at once. You just have to decide that you deserve better. And then you take one step, and then another. And eventually, you'll look back and realize you've walked away." When she finally came back to Virginia, it wasn't to reconcile. It was to pack. I met her at the house, helped her load boxes into a moving truck. Terrence wasn't there. She'd made sure of that. "Where are you going?" I asked as we carried the last box to the truck. She said, "New Jersey, back home, close to family. I need to be somewhere I feel safe." I hugged her tight, the way I should have been hugging her all along, without excuses, without defending the person who hurt her. "You're stronger than you know," I whispered. She pulled back, eyes red but clear. "I'm going to be okay, Mama Marilyn. Maybe not today, maybe not next month, but eventually." And I believed her, because the woman standing in front of me wasn't the same woman who'd come to my house 2 weeks ago with a shy smile and a container of eggs. She was someone who'd looked the truth in the face and chosen herself.
Terrence showed up at my house 3 days after Nadina left Virginia. I heard his car pull into the driveway just after 9 at night, heard the door slam, heard his footsteps heavy on the porch. He didn't knock. He just walked in. "Mama?" His voice was ragged. His eyes were wild, red-rimmed, frantic. "You have to fix this." I was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of tea I hadn't touched. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I didn't recognize the man standing in my doorway. "Fix what, Terrence?" "Nadina. She won't answer my calls. She blocked me. She's gone, Mama, and it's..." He ran his hands through his hair, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. "It's all falling apart." "You mean your lies are falling apart?" He stopped, stared at me like I'd slapped him. "What?" "Your lies," I repeated, voice steady. "The affair, the secret hotel meetings, the breakup letter you hid in a box of chocolates. That's what's falling apart. Not Nadina. You."
His face crumpled. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I didn't mean... You didn't mean to get caught, I said. That's what you mean. Mama, please. He dropped to his knees in front of me, hands gripping the edge of the table. I messed up. I know I messed up, but I can fix it. I just need you to talk to her. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her I love her. I looked down at my son, my baby boy, the one I carried, the one I raised, the one I defended for far too long, and I felt something break inside me. Not my love for him, that doesn't just disappear, but my willingness to protect him from consequences he earned. I'm not going to do that, I said quietly. What? I'm not going to fix this for you. I'm not going to convince Nadina to come back. I'm not going to make excuses for you anymore. But I'm your son. And that's exactly why I'm saying no. Because I've spent too many years protecting you from the truth. Too many years smoothing things over. Too many years pretending you were just going through something instead of holding you accountable. Tears streamed down his face. Mama, I can't lose her. You already did, I said. The moment you decided she wasn't worth your honesty. He collapsed onto the floor, sobbing like a child. And part of me wanted to hold him, wanted to tell him it would be okay, wanted to fix it the way I always had. But I didn't. Because love isn't always about comfort. Sometimes love means letting someone face the mess they made. You need to leave, I said, standing up. And you need to figure out who you want to be. Not who you can convince people you are. Who you actually are. He left without another word, and I sat back down at my table, staring at my cold tea, wondering if I'd done the right thing, knowing I had.
I didn't hear from Nadina for almost 3 weeks after she moved back to New Jersey. I gave her space, let her breathe, let her process everything without the weight of my guilt or my son's desperation pressing down on her. But when she finally called, I could tell something had changed. Her voice was different, steadier, calmer, like she'd walked through fire and come out the other side. Mama Marilyn, she said, can we talk in person? Of course, baby. When? Tomorrow? I'm coming back to Virginia to handle some paperwork. Can I stop by? Anytime. You know that. The next afternoon, she pulled into my driveway. She looked different too. Hair shorter, posture straighter, eyes clearer. We sat on my porch with lemonade, the late afternoon sun warm on our faces. How are you? I asked, gently. I'm okay, she said. And I believed her. It's been hard, but I'm figuring it out. Good. I'm proud of you. She smiled, a real one this time. Then she set her glass down and looked at me. There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you weeks ago, but I wasn't ready. My chest tightened. What is it? She took a deep breath. I'm pregnant. Time stopped. I stared at her, trying to process the words. You're... how far along? About 8 weeks. She looked down at her hands. I found out the day before you gave me the chocolates. I took the test that morning. I was going to tell Terrence that night. My heart broke all over again. Oh, baby. But then I opened that box, and I saw the letter, the photo, the hotel key, and I realized I couldn't raise a child with someone who didn't respect me. I reached over and took her hand. Does he know? She shook her head. No, and I'm not going to tell him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I wanted to argue, wanted to say he had a right to know. But then I thought about the way he'd shown up at my house, the way he'd begged me to fix things, the way he'd focused on what he lost instead of what he destroyed. And I kept quiet. There's something else, Nadina said,
voice softer now. The baby, it might not be Terrence's. My breath caught. She met my eyes, unflinching, honest. I'm not proud of it, but a few months ago, when things were really bad, when Terrence was pulling away and I was drowning in loneliness, I reconnected with someone from my past, someone who reminded me what it felt like to be seen. I didn't judge her. How could I? Does he know? He knows about the pregnancy, not about the uncertainty. He swallowed hard. But he wants to be there. He wants to help. And he treats me like I matter. Then that's what you deserve, I said firmly. She smiled, tears slipping down her cheeks. I don't know what's going to happen, she admitted. I don't know if I'll ever tell Terrence. I don't know if this baby is his or not. But I know one thing. What's that? I'm done living in someone else's lie. I'm done shrinking myself to make space for someone who doesn't see me. I'm done pretending everything is fine when it's not. I squeezed her hand. Then you're going to be just fine. And I meant it.
Nadina moved on with her life in a way I didn't think was possible. She stayed in New Jersey, close to family, found a small apartment with a view of the water, started therapy, started rebuilding herself, piece by piece. The man from her past, the one who'd been there when she needed kindness, stepped up in ways Terrence never had. He didn't ask questions, didn't demand answers, just showed up, consistently, quietly, the way love is supposed to show up. When the baby was born, a healthy girl with dark eyes and her mother's smile, Nadina named her Hope. She sent me a photo, and when I looked at that tiny face, I didn't see betrayal or secrets or lies. I just saw a new beginning. Terrence eventually found out about the pregnancy. Not from me, not from Nadina. From someone who saw her at a grocery store and mentioned it in passing. He called me, voice hollow. Did you know? Yes, I said simply. Why didn't you tell me? Because it wasn't my story to tell. He was quiet for a long time. Is the baby mine? I don't know, I said honestly. And I don't think it matters. Of course it matters. No, Terrence, what matters is that you broke something you can't fix. What matters is that you made choices that destroyed a woman who loved you. What matters is that you're more concerned about paternity than you are about the pain you caused. He didn't respond. I love you, and I meant it, but I will not enable you. I will not make excuses for you, and I will not let you rewrite this story to make yourself the victim. So that's it? His voice cracked. You're just done with me? I'm not done with you, but I'm done protecting you from yourself. The call ended, and I sat there, feeling the weight of everything that had happened, everything that had changed. Terrence is still my son. I still love him, but love doesn't mean blind loyalty. It means holding people accountable. It means telling the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. It means drawing boundaries, even when it hurts. Nadina taught me that. Not with words, with action. She chose herself when no one else would. She walked away from a man who didn't deserve her. She built a new life on her own terms. And that box of chocolates, it didn't destroy anything. It just revealed what was already broken. Because secrets don't ruin lives. The choices that create those secrets do. And the only way forward for any of us is to stop hiding from the truth, even when it shatters everything we thought we knew. So let me ask you something. If you were in Nadina's position, if you found out the person you loved had been lying to you for over a year, what would you do? Would you walk away? Would you fight for the relationship? Would you demand answers or just leave without looking back? Drop a comment and let me know.
let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if this story hit close to home. Because I know I'm not the only mother who's made excuses for someone she loves. I know I'm not the only woman who's ignored red flags because the truth felt too painful to face. And if this story helped you see something you've been avoiding, if it gave you permission to stop defending someone who doesn't deserve it, then share it. Send it to someone who needs to hear it. Because we protect each other by telling the truth. Even when it's messy. Even when it hurts. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. Real ones. Honest ones. The kind that remind you that you're not alone. And remember, secrets always find their way out. The only question is whether you'll be the one holding the truth or the one hiding from it.